Hey everyone, this will be a kind of a special little video. Recently, Bill Petty published a function that I was working on, and I'm thankful that he did. It's a function that allows you to get collegiate park factors, and that's useful for calculating plus stats like weighted runs created plus, ERA plus, FIP minus, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to show a quick little tutorial on how to use it, and we'll just go right into it. So first, you'll use DevTools :install _GitHub Bill Petty baseballr. And so should give you this sign that says, hey, downloading the GitHub repo, short for repository, Bill Petty baseballr at master. Give it a minute to load. It should come up with a list of options. You can see that. Just allows you, if you want to update packages, you can. You select whatever. I'll just say 3 in my case, so I'll just hit 3, and it should give you all of this information on the ideology of installing it, so to speak. So that way you can kind of go down and see, okay, make sure that it's installing correctly. And yeah, it just goes through each one. We're almost there. But yeah, it should take like a minute or two. Again, depends on your machine and how fast it can process, but just keeps going, and then towards the end it should say something like done or something along those lines. So again, it's just going through it. So now you can see right here, done, baseballr. So now that you have baseballr installed, call it into our environment by just saying library baseballr. So I'll load that. It allows us to get that data. So now we're going to use the function in baseballr called get NCAA park factor. And what essentially a park factor is measures how hitter friendly or pitcher friendly a park is. Unlike sports like football, basketball, the field or court dimensions are the same. But in baseball, each field is unique in that not every field is the same. Sure, the base paths are 90 feet from one base to another, but when you go in the outfield, every outfield has varying distances at varying lengths. So it's useful for calculating these park factors to understand which fields are hitter friendly, which fields are pitcher friendly. So how you do that is we'll say get NCAA park factor, this one right here, and then it'll give you team ID, years, and then there's a type argument where the default argument is conference. That way you measure those park factors against the other teams in the conference. This is useful because you can see how the collegiate realm is in terms of regionalization, and with what's going on, it may become even more regionalized. So usually teams won't play other teams well out of their reach. So like St. John's will not, less than likely, play UCLA. And then other teams in the Midwest may not go out to the Northwest, or East goes to West, West goes to East, so on and so forth. But this type argument allows you to see, okay, I'm comparing within the conference. That way you can have a better idea. If you compared, the other argument is division, and then that's comparing like all of Division I. So that's saying, if you played against a bunch of a frequent amount of teams all across Division I, you can use that park factor. But especially for like the lower levels, Division II and Division III, it's a lot more regionalized there. So I'd highly recommend using the division type argument. So we're just going to do Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt's ID is 736, or actually we'll use a different team. So we'll say from the baseballr package, there's a school ID lookup, and we'll say, let's do Michigan. So do a school ID lookup, and it gives you the school ID, so 418. So 418, and we'll we'll do 2015 to 2019. So that's 5 years. And then type equals conference. So that way it regresses and adjusts for the amount of teams in this case, since Michigan's in the Big Ten Conference, the Big Ten Conference. So you run that. And then it just says, acquiring game data, calculating park factors, please be patient. It does take some time, especially when you add more years. Essentially going through the schedule info and pulling those box scores and then doing the calculation. So now we have this. Michigan played 119 home games in that span, 187 away games. Again, neutral sites, even though they may be the home team. So let's say Michigan played, out this past season they played in Arizona. They may have been a home team, but it's not their home field. So that's considered an away game, even though it's a neutral site game. And then it gives you these arguments. Runs scored at home, 930. Runs allowed at home, 456. Runs scored away, 1,043. Runs allowed away, 846. And then the base park factor is just taking those and dividing by the amount of home games and away games respectively. And the home game adjustments is usually at the MLB level, what makes it so easy to calculate park factors, you just have them and you essentially just divide by 2 in this case, because MLB teams will play half their games at home, half their games on the road. But at the college level, that's not necessarily the case. It could vary from one level to another, and it could be, some teams may play a bunch of home games. So like UCLA may play a bunch of home games because they are in a warmer weather climate. Michigan, on the other hand, may not because they're in Michigan. So usually, first month of the season, they're on the road, which I respect the Eric Backage's idea behind that new college baseball model. So d1baseball.com, check that out. But now you can see, and then that home game adjustments, and then using that conference data and those adjustments, you get that final park factor. So when it says 1.081, that means that you're getting the Michigan's home field. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but Michigan's home field has a 8% hitter-friendly park, meaning that offensive environment is more hitter-friendly, and if a pitcher does well, he's going to have a higher ERA plus. So think about it this way. Tommy Henry was one guy that really caught my attention as a pitcher at Michigan. I think one year he had a slightly above league average ERA, but because of the park effects, he actually was a above average ERA plus pitcher because he played in such a hitter friendly environment. So again, this is useful for calculating that kind of stuff. So calculating ERA plus, weighted runs created plus, all the plus stats that require park factors. And it's useful to understand the different environments that each team plays in. Because there are some teams like UConn, J.O. Christian Field is super pitcher friendly if you did it at the division level. So I can actually show you that. So how about UConn? There we go. So their school ID is 164. So J.O. Christian Field. It's no longer there. They built a new park, but we'll say the same amount of time, 5 years, division. And you can kind of see the difference. So we'll say division. This is comparing across all of Division I. So many, there's about 300 teams, so many different environments. So it doesn't adjust for, UConn playing in the Big East. So again, give it a minute, but you can see that final park factor is 0.557, which means they are 43% pitcher friendly. And you can see that, that's not very intuitive in this case, especially for a team that, doesn't really branch out throughout college baseball at the Division I level. So now we'll do it again, but this time we'll say conference. And the default argument is conference, so you don't have to type conference if you're just calculating conference park factors. But if you do division park factors, definitely add that type argument. So again, this is comparing 5 years, and now you can kind of see the big difference is because it's comparing the teams in the conference over that span. So essentially what it does is computes the average amount of teams in the Big East Conference from 2015 to 2019. And then creates that adjustment so that way you have a more statistical friendly perk factor rather than a very unbalanced outlier type perk factor. So this is where the conference comes in. So now you can see UConn is now a 4.6% pitcher friendly park, or J.O. Christian Field was. So now, obviously it's no longer anymore, but you can see that, and then you can be able to create those adjustments. So I would definitely say if you can, use 3 years at least to calculate, park factors for those plus stats. If you can't, that's fine. I do have other adjustments for single year. So like Kentucky recently had a new field. UConn had a new field this year. So you can create those adjustments, and the code will align those adjustments accordingly based on the number of years that you select. But feel free to use it. Feel free to calculate your own metrics with it. I recently did come out with an article about linear weights for WOBA, weighted on base average. So also check that out, and I really hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.